you could think of. In Business 360 today, we'll be looking at Africa. But we've heard that electricity distribution strike action embarked by the Labour Union. We'll be talking Premier League's revenues are expected to exceed £6 billion this season for the Fowls in the 2020-2021 season, according to Deloitte's latest annual review. Was an 8% rise on a year earlier, while Germany's Bundesliga and Spain's La Liga both suffered a 6% drop in revenues. Deloitte expects the English top flight to have made £5.5 billion in 2021-2022 season and to top £6 billion in the current season, which kicks off at the start of August, which is so far ongoing with exciting sporting activities. The English game continues to ride a wave of popularity around the world and has benefited from the significant uplift in its international broadcast rights. Many Nigerians would ask, when will we have in Nigeria this level of competition and TV rights and revenue generated from the Nigerian Football League? Well, only time will tell. Talking about businesses, the biggest problem for every business person, especially if the business is online, would be that of hackers. According to Recorded Futures report, suspected Chinese hackers have spied on governments and NGOs and medias all around the world. A hacking group suspected of acting on behalf of the Chinese government have carried out a multi-year espionage campaign against numerous governments, NGOs, think tanks, and new agencies around the world in recent reports. The group, known as Red Alpha, has specialized in stealing login details from individuals and organizations considered to be strategic interest to Beijing, according to a report released by cybersecurity firm Recorded Futures. Cybercriminality can be a big issue in the world, and it's affecting all businesses, from small businesses to the even biggest ones you could think of. And there have been huge suspects from the Asian community, beginning from North Korea, and now there have been stories about hackers in China. So talking about business outlook and the events unfolding in the world, Myanmar says they aim to ration petrol and fuel oil to ease supply concerns and rising prices. According to the army spokesperson, the latest developing country to do so amid global energy crisis. The Southeastern Asian country has maintained friendly ties with Russia, even as both are under a raft of sanctions from Western countries. Myanmar fought a military coup that overthrew an elected government last year, and Russia's sanction for its invasion of Ukraine, which is called a special military operation. They're thinking of doing the bit they can, getting all this funding. We're talking about sanctions, but amid sanctions ought to be good jobs in our countries. The global economy and job opportunities are beginning to fall around the world, and it's the same story in Australia, as Australia's jobless rate falls to a fresh low of 3.4%. Australia's seasonally adjusted unemployment dropped to a new record low of 3.4% in July 2022 from June's of 3.5% and below market forecast of 3.5% amid a further recovery in the economy from the pandemic. The number of unemployment fell 20,000 to 473,900, with people looking by 5,900 to 157,100. Meanwhile, employment unexpectedly declined 40,900 to 13.56 million, compared to forecast of a 25,000 rise, and down for the first time in 9 months, as full-time employment decreased 86,900 to 9,409,400, while part-time employment increased 46,000 to 4,149,000. The participation rate fell to 66.4% compared with consensus and June figure reached a new high of 66.8%. The underemployment rate aged down to 6.0% from 6.1%, while the underutilization went down to 9.4% from 9.6%, staying at its lowest since April 1982. Monthly hours worked in all jobs dropped to 1,840 million hours in Australia. It's a huge concern globally, but the good thing and the good story around the Australian economy has been that the job, it's on the uptick and not on the downward spiral. But talking about jobs, people always aim for salaries, and salaries usually come in form of money. But when the value of money is not strong enough, what can the people do? Looking at the foreign exchange market, Chinese yuan marches towards 23 months low. The offshore yuan depreciated past 6.8% or 6.8 pawn rather against the dollar, closing on the lowest level in 23 months, as a shaky economy is pressurizing China's central bank to take more easing steps at a time the US Federal Reserve signaled a commitment to keep raising interest rates to get ahead of inflation. The People's Bank of China is expected to cut the country's benchmark lending rate for corporate and mortgage loans on Monday, after unexpectedly slashing two key rates earlier this week, as it tries to revive demand and counter signs of a slowing economy. Goldman Sachs and Nomura downgraded their forecast for China's GDP on Thursday. That the PBOC has little room to maneuver amid precedent and persistent inflationary pressures, rising global interest rates, and the risks of increased capital outflows. Well, at this point, we'll be looking at the stock, or rather the European exchange market, and talking about the foreign exchange market, foreign exchange outlook, the euro against the USD. In today's market, the euro against the USD, it's 6.5 at current price. That's for €1, 34%. It's very difficult. It continues. There's a bit of concerns all over the world, especially talking about pounds US drop of 0.65. Aussie against the US dollar, there's been a drop and 62 percentage points. And US dollar against the Chinese. Quick look at for the market. When we're talking about the markets and the forex market, the stock and Bitcoin price dropped in today's market. It's been very difficult. Let's look at Bitcoin. Big economic slowdown sent shockwaves, so saw the various fall sharply, tumbling between 7% and the look of the cryptocurrency market. What the market is doing today, the market is still moving rapidly at 682 now, going upward and downward. Current price of Bitcoin, bits you can see, a market is 7.38 percentage coin. A lot of investors are in big concern concerning this all red blood market right now, all red, except for 1% or point up, basically nothing much, no percentage upward throughout the year. That chart that shows Bitcoin's performances, dollars in price, but it's dropping currently, moving downwards, and at 2022, beginning of 2022, it was close to $1,000. Investors are being careful about in Ukraine, considering all the economic indices, how it's affecting even, which would be Japan's inflation. But before then, we'll be going on a brief. Thank you for watching. It's a one on Spectrum TV dealing and Japan's inflation rates in July 2022 from 2.4% in June. Surging fuel and food costs following Russia's invasion of Ukraine affects business terribly. Main upward pressure, prime creation and miscellaneous. But on the flip, 2.4% year-on-year. Bank of Japan's 2021, after being flat, is at 19.8%. That high compared to Japan would be to raise key interest rates, and a lot of African countries, including Nigeria, seem to be doing that in the business of raising interest rates. Ghana's central bank raises its key interest rate percent in its latest effort to combat the country's rising inflation. The decision was taken on Thursday at the central bank, and the foreign exchange market called for the deliberation on the underlying drivers. 7th consecutive month of increase. Food inflation rose to 32.3% in July from 30.7% in June 2022. Meanwhile, the Ghanaian cedi has depreciated by 25 from both domestic and external sources. Downgrading of sovereign credit rating, non-residents die or days investments you can think of in local currency bonds, and loss of reserve buffers. It's a huge concern in Ghana when you look at how inflation is going higher and higher, affecting the cost of part inflation in Ghana. We'll also be looking at inflation in Nigeria, as Nigeria's inflation rate ballooned by 170% to measure the level of inflation in the country has in July 2022. Inflation sworn into office as the 15th has occupied since then. During the period, Nigeria 63.6 points in July 2022, while core inflation spiked by 132.2% in the rated to a 17-year high. Reported that Nigeria's inflation rate rose to 19.64% in July 2022. Nigeria's inflation rate outlook is in 2021 a bit to 15 within November, 6.6. So it got to April at 16 at a very peak of it at it dropped. And all about inflation rates. Well, looking at Thursday, by 0.29, capitalization crashed from 26 points this point to close at 14 to 4 naira 41.38.97 million. Outlook on market facilitation and market structures for today's market is a projection to what today's market could be, and that has been a story thereof for investors. Those who end up losing money have a check back, probably never. Business 360, and my name is Blyden Okem. This is How Far We Can News at 12 comes next.